Welcome to Thoughtful Tuesdays. I designed this program specifically to help us understand the connection between the brain, what happens to us, and how we could change that story, how we could change unhelpful patterns of thoughts and behavior. My name is Tonya Lloyd. I'm a licensed drug and alcohol counselor. I've been serving the mental health field for about 15 years, and I've discovered some really interesting insights that I hope would benefit you through this educational series. Now, the insights, what's the connection between addictive behaviors, addictions to substance use, or addictions to anything that's harmful, addictions to work, for example. What's the connection there? What drives us and what keeps us doing the same things over and over and over again, expecting different results? I hope that this series helps us to discover that together. Today's topic has to do with the emotional brain. We first started this series with the executive function and understanding how that is a part of the brain that is not developed, but we as adults, as well as educators, play a key role in helping students to develop their executive functioning. The week prior, we focused on mothers and the need for us to support and take care of our mothers to help them nurture their mental health. Can you imagine the strain of single parent moms who are doing the best that they can to work, to provide, to give each child the attention that they need, and still try to find some time for themselves? Today, we're looking at the emotional brain and its ability to disrupt and affect learning or the logical brain. Let's hop in to the presentation I've prepared. I'm going to share my screen. You're still going to see me. Here we go, Thoughtful Tuesdays. Okay, so I'm just going to start the slideshow. I'm also the member of the Robinson Lloyd Resiliency Group, where we provide the most comprehensive, data informed, social, emotional, and academic support services to schools and organizations that would like to benefit from the insights we've gleaned from working with children. We empower children to recognize and fulfill their potential. Today, we're going to look at the emotional brain. We're going to hop straight into it because I've already told you about it. So let's see. I'll be looking at four parts of the emotional brain: the thalamus, the hypothalamus, the hippocampus, and the amygdala. Now, the emotional brain represents a literal bridge between what is called the smart brain, which is controlled by the neocortex. It represents the cortex and helps us house our executive functioning. It is also in the middle of the survival brain, housed there with the brain stem. Now, the emotional brain is in the middle and it's been called the limbic system. Here's the interesting fact, as we learned a couple weeks ago. The emotional brain and the survival brain, if it senses stress, if we're panicked by something, it would allow the logical brain to go offline, because we don't want to say, oh, is this really stressful? If we're really in harm, we want to be able to respond quickly, right? So the smart brain shuts down. The emotional brain and the survival brain kicks into automatic. That's where we get the stress responses, the fight, right? Arguments, right? Or the flight. I gotta get out of here. I gotta hide. I got to withdraw, right? Or the freeze. We say nothing at all. We shut down. We freeze. Okay. Now, those are the typical responses. We want to understand the emotional brain so that it could help us to be able to step back and to recognize, let me keep my smart brain on for a little bit longer. How do we get in check with our emotional brain, our smart brain, our survival brain if we don't even know what they do, right? We got to know what it does, but each part plays a crucial role in our very survival. So let's get into the emotional brain. We're looking at the thalamus. It's our relay center. It determines which sensory information goes where. So when we're talking about the senses, we know we're talking about the eyes, right? Eye, smell, feel, touch, right? Now, the only sensory organ that does not is not controlled by the thalamus is the smell. That is taken directly through the olfactory bulb, right? So we have something, the thalamus, that's helping us with our sense, right? Now, when you think about something, let me see, think about try to get something that you saw, right? Let's say you saw something that's a little bit scary, right? Your thalamus is what's going to relay to your brain that this is a little bit disturbing for me. Okay, now let's look at the amygdala. It's almond shaped. I love almonds, right? It's responsible for fear, anxiety, aggression, sexual attraction, and pleasure. Just imagine if the amygdala, for some reason, isn't working as it should, right? We might be observing people that they don't have any reaction to fear. You can't, they have no fear, right? And of course, fear helps to warn us and protect us. So these people might walk into very dangerous situations and not know how to deal with it because they're not afraid. Okay, anxiety, aggression, sexual attraction. It's very, very important to understand these key parts of our brain. Next, we look at the hypothalamus. Now, this is a critical connection between the brain and the body. Why? Because the body actually feels the emotions generated by the brain. Think about it. When you've been stressed out, where do you feel that stress? Do you just know, okay, and my brain's telling me I'm stressed out? No, your body hurts, right? Your neck hurts, your back hurts, your heart might feel a little bit tight. You might cry, right? You actually feel pain that's generated in your brain perceiving something or thinking about something that this is painful to me. It also it releases its own hormones and controls other glands to help us keep balance or homeostasis, right? It controls our sleep, our wake, our body temperature, our hunger. It is our master regulator of the endocrine system. Okay, so when we're thinking, you're feeling something doesn't feel right, you don't feel balanced, you're worried, you're unable to sleep, right? All of these are clues that we need to step back and regain our internal balance. Whatever is happening on the inside, as the Kabbalion would share, is reflected on the outside. Take a look at when you're stressed out. What's your desk looking like? What's your home looking like? What's your room looking like? Okay, so we want to step back and say, okay, let me get order, right? Let me help my body to calm down, to help my mind to calm down, because the body is feeling what the mind is feeling as well. Next, we look at the hippocampus, so named because it resembles a seahorse, and it's Greek. the sea hippocampus, it's Greek for seahorse. It converts our short-term memory into long-term memory, and that's where our childhood memories play a very crucial role. Now, when we step into what happened to us, whatever little traumas, forgotten at school, right? Parents somehow they were working late and no communication. One person thought this person was picking you up and it didn't happen. Or bullying at the school, you're a little bit shy or you're quiet and people identify you as being different and they leave you out because you're coming across as awkward, you're not fitting in, right? All of these are little traumas that form memories, and these memories feed into how we view the world. Is the world a safe and reliable place where we have a lot of, good people as well as people we cannot trust? Or is it mostly an unsafe place where we are going to be in hyper defensive mode or have what Dr. Perry and Oprah Winfrey refer to as sensitized responses to stress. Now, when we think of sensitized or sensitive, or someone says you're a sensitive person, you cry easily, you overreact, or in their terms, overreact to stress. That's what they're talking about. Someone mashes your foot and you find that that's so insulting, so disrespectful that you rave into anger that might end up with someone's life being caused, right? So when we blow it up really, really big, we could see why it's so important to value mental health and to recognize when someone has a sensitized response and to not ridicule them, not ridicule someone who's clearly already suffering through something, but be there to help. And we have to know how to help, right? How to help. It helps us to remember important facts for exams, right? So remember, this emotional brain is playing a key role to helping us remember for exams, right? Remember, it's a bridge, right? When we think about bridges, it helps us to cross over from one place, one stage to the next. What do we teach at the Resilient Stars program? At this time, I would like to pay special homage to all of the Resilient Stars that I've met, right? Wow, I think 15 years ago, from meeting kids from the Kistos home for abused, abandoned children. They were not abused or abandoned or neglected. I saw them as resilient stars, right? Their stories were just a part of what happened, but it's not who they are. Our stories are just pieces of information to help us understand how to make the most of our lives, how to be the best that we can be at home, in school, and in the world. Now, this Resilient Stars program, I'd like to thank Elijah, Tamir, right, Islam. I'd like to thank you guys because you helped to inform what should go into this program to be the most benefit to children everywhere. All right, so we always start with the emotion cartoon. Why? Again, we might sometimes feel things before we even have time to process or think about it. Now, my orientation in terms of theories, I am psychoanalytical, it's Freud, cognitive behavioral, Aaron Beck, and also motivational interviewing, right, which is something that was new, brought about by Miller, right? Now, all of this informs how we treat with this program, the theories that underpin underpin it and connects the theories to resilience to outcomes, right? That we could actually have predictable outcomes because we have a predictable curriculum that's very comprehensive to help children achieve higher levels of grit, self esteem, and to manage big emotions like anxiety and depression. So let's tap into the emotions. Can we label it? What's the point of walking around feeling on edge, feeling things, and we don't even know what it is? We have to label it. We label it either you're anxious or nervous or worried, right? And the human being has hundreds of ways of expressing emotions, right? Are you happy? Are you content? Are you sad? What's that feeling? Tap into that feeling, label it. It gives you more power. Draw, write, again, get it out of here and onto the paper where you could look at it and you could say, huh, that's what I'm feeling, eh? Then rate the intensity, right? Are you feeling it just a little bit, 0 to 3? Are you feeling it with medium intensity, 4 to 6? Or are you getting closer to feeling it intensely, 7 to 10? Just put your finger on it. Then we're going to get into pinpointing the source. What made me feel that way? What? Right? And we start thinking. Now, quite often, remember we're going back to that emotional brain, right? It stores short-term memory, makes it long-term. Imagine if you're in a place, an environment that's completely unpredictable. Daddy says he's going to come for you this weekend, but weekend after weekend after weekend, he doesn't show. You get to the point where you're like, Dag, I can't rely on these adults. I can't rely on the people in my environment. So what do? Well, some people start to become aggressively independent, and that's good. Yet, what does that communicate to the people who need you? See, we're all born one for the other, right? The things that I've gone through were meant to benefit the resilient stars that we work with now. It's not to bemoan and get upset about. It was just an experience that's going to help make someone else's life easier, right? And so that's the role of the connections between the brain. Because you see, if we hold that experience and we judge it as us, something being wrong with us, that has happened, that didn't show when he said that he would, because something's wrong with me, or that I'm not lovable or I'm not good enough. Guess what? Our brain has that faulty system, right? That faulty core belief. We're looking at CBT now. That faulty core belief that says, hey, something's not right with you. And the world, remember, as within, so without, we're going to get examples to just really cement that belief. It becomes what is known as a self fulfilling prophecy. All right, where we say, I'm not good enough. And the world says, all right, that's what you believe. You're not good enough. Here, take this, take that, get fired. You know, your marriages aren't working out. Your children don't like you. Okay. But it's not the truth, though. We have to search for the truth. And we start by being true to what we feel, right? Recognize that we have the power to choose to feel happy all the time. Happy inside. It is well with my soul, right? I could get into talking about the soul because that's where psychology started, right? Researching the soul, but then people say, well, we can't measure the soul, we can't see the soul. How do we know it exists? We know it exists because we came from a higher source. Now remember that higher power, higher source expresses himself, itself through each of us. And we're all connected and we're all one, right? And the faster we recognize that and the faster we accept that and we start having a lot more empathy and we start, as Dr. Perry and Oprah Winfrey encourages, we start to build trauma sensitive centers. We start to focus on empathy and caring and recognizing that we could help each other succeed and get and bring about exactly what we were put here for. We become our best selves. We become resilient stars. This is the end of our Thoughtful Tuesday for today. I hope that it has given you something to think about. We've been getting great feedback from the schools and organizations that we work with, from the students. Feel free to visit our website, www.rlrgresilientstars.com, to book your info session with us. We would love to serve your school and help your students wherever they struggle, even if they're not struggling yet, get the tools that they need to empower themselves to see their true worth, their true potential, and to fulfill that potential not just for themselves, but for the world at large that would benefit. Until next time, remember we discussed the role of the emotional brain, the limbic system, and the lessons that we learn as children and how that shapes how we view the world, and recognizing when we have to be careful if the way that we're viewing the world is unhelpful, and the patterns of thoughts and behavior that we have about ourselves and about others around us is also unhelpful. Know that, like with any addiction, patterns can be broken. And we are a very successful response to helping you break unhelpful patterns. You deserve to succeed. Your child deserves to succeed, and your school and your organization deserve success. We'll be in touch. See you next Tuesday. Bye for now.